All right. Welcome, team. So what we're going to be covering here is we're going to be covering the science of confidence. This is going to be perfect for anybody who has anxiety, anyone who has like high levels of stress, poor sleep, can't gain muscle. This is a really interesting one. We get a lot of guys as well who have issues around confidence or who want to improve their confidence, their self-belief, and their decision-making, particularly within guys who are owning businesses or who are sales reps. This is really, really phenomenal, but also great for husbands and fathers too. All right. So if you're anyone within this cross section or have any of these issues, this will be an absolute game changer for you, because I'm going to run you through how you can nail your confidence. And it's actually really quite easy when you delve down into the science of it. I'm going to start with a little something called dopamine. Okay. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter within the nervous system, which regulates a whole heap of things like motivation, mood, learning, and it's a really, really critical neurotransmitter. Now, a lot of you may already know of dopamine from like recreational drugs, particularly alcohol, cocaine, things like that. They all work on increasing dopamine. Whenever we increase dopamine, we'll increase our ability to go and do stuff. Ice is another one, methamphetamines. And if you look at people who are on dopamine enhancing substances such as alcohol, such as cocaine, such as ice, you'll notice that they are actually really, really extremely confident. They may be slightly like jittery at the same time, but they have absolute confidence and self-belief. I mean, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the movie Scarface, for example, where you see Tony Montana saying, "Hello to my little friend," right? That's a terrible accent, but you get my drift, right? Whenever we have heightened levels of dopamine, we will always become more confident. And that's because dopamine has a really, really intricate role in allowing us to assess the way that we perceive ourselves and perceive how we've done. Now, there's a really, really interesting study done back in 2011 where they were actually using and tracking the role of dopamine and increasing the amount of dopamine in how people would recall words. People would go through and they would be read a list of words that they should go and that they need to remember. And the people who had the most or the highest amounts of dopamine would say that they most accurately recalled those words, whether they did or didn't at all. It was very, very cool. So what we can know from this is that if we want to improve our confidence, we need to boost our dopamine. That is an absolute must. So how do we do this? Well, step number one, the very first thing that we need to do in order to boost our dopamine is we need to go through, we need to do goal setting, okay? And specifically with a goal setting, we need to create our summit. You know, if you don't have access to our summit training yet, make sure that you let us know. Either click the link in the comments or go through and shoot me a message on Facebook and I'll be able to hook you up with the summit training, because that'll tell you how to appropriately set your summit and maximize your goal setting. Because it's very, very well researched and well documented that goal setting will improve dopamine levels. The next thing after this that we need to do, is we need to look into supplementation, because this is an absolute game changer when we do this. Whenever we go through and we look at using supplements, we can very, very easily and simply hack the whole body just by improving a couple of little tweaks here and there. So things like tyrosine, which is a racetam, you may have heard of them. They're very, very difficult to get now. But tyrosine and racetams are probably my two favorite things for boosting dopamine. Now, the next thing after that we need to do is we need to look into something called dopamine fasting. Now, whenever you have too much of a good thing, it ends up being bad. This is the same thing with dopamine. So if you look at what we have in our modern day and age, we get a lot of dopamine all the time from our phones, from our computers, from playing games. All these stimuli that we have, they constantly give us small amounts of dopamine. Now, the annoying thing about this is that this small amount of dopamine doesn't boost our motivation, our mood, or our learning. It actually does the opposite, because it is too little, too often. We want to get rid of this stuff, because what's happening here is, if I just go and show you a really rough dopamine graph, every time we go on our phone, we get a text, we get a little boost of dopamine, okay? Ignore that. There we go. A little boost of dopamine that comes back down. A little one again, and it comes back down. And each time you can see that it's just getting lower and lower and lower. And our resting level of dopamine ends up right the way down on the floor. Whereas if we go through and instead we go through and do a proper dopamine fast, what will happen is we'll have nothing and our resting levels will slowly increase. And then when we get a big boost of dopamine, when we want it, we'll get a massive spike, and then it'll come back down to the baseline again. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing that we need to look at after dopamine is we need to look at the amygdala. All right. Now, the amygdala is a little bit in the brain, right about there, roughly. It's called the reptilian brain, right? The reason why is because this is like the most basic level of our brain. This is the thing which is controlling all of the fight or flight. Now, you've probably heard of me talking about this before, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, or you haven't heard me discuss the nervous system, make sure to hit me up and get access to the nervous system information, because it's very, very important, because otherwise a lot of this won't make sense for you, okay? Now, in this reptilian brain, this regulates all of our feelings of being scared, of fear, of scarcity, of all that sort of stuff, which is the exact opposite of these things. So if we have confidence, it is what we call inversely proportionate to fear, right? Whenever you're afraid, you're generally far, far less confident, okay? Now let's go through and let's pull an example which everybody here can relate. You're 13 years of age, you've never talked to a girl in your life before, and you want to go up and ask her out on a date or give her a kiss or do whatever 13-year-olds do, right? You are shitting yourself at this moment because you're afraid. You're afraid she's going to turn you down. You're afraid she's going to see your armpits are sweating, your hands are shaking. You're afraid you're going to see something stupid. So your confidence naturally goes down whenever you have an increase in fear. This is the most basic example I can give you. Whenever we are more afraid, whenever this reptilian brain is activated and the amygdala is working, we will have a reduction in confidence. So what we need to do is we need to reverse this, right? So we need to reverse the amygdala's work, right? Whenever we do this, things get really, really freaking cool. And this is why I'm such a big fan of meditation. Whenever we have lots of fear in our life and we are constantly in a place of scarcity, we constantly have things going wrong, we're listening to the news and they're telling us we're all going to die in 10 years unless we all start driving electric cars, or they start saying that the whole world is going to die from COVID or whatever stuff, this amygdala ends up growing and it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. When the amygdala gets bigger, we get more fear and more fear and more fear and more fear. And then at the same time, we get less confidence and less confidence and less confidence and less confidence, right? Now, you can probably see this with some people at the moment. There are a lot of people right now who are very, very afraid and at the same time are not confident in themselves whatsoever. So what we need to do is we need to reverse this. So how can we do that? Number one is going to be meditation. Meditation is absolutely brilliant for it. Number two is activating the parasympathetic nervous system, okay? Once again, make sure that you check out my nervous system videos because this will tell you exactly what you need to do. And then number three, we just need to practice being relaxed, right? In times where it's stressful, in times where things are going wrong, we need to practice being relaxed, practice being chilled out, and making it so that we can actually just relax and be calm and be cool and be going with the flow. If we do this, we're going to effectively reduce the amount of stimulus for the amygdala, which in turn will make it smaller, which in turn will make us more confident with less fear. Does that make sense? Now, guys, if this is something that you want to learn more about, we have loads of information on this, and this is what we coach a lot of our clients on. For those of you who don't know, what we do is at JCF Coaching, that's my company, what we do is we work with men who want to be high performance men, right? This is literally what we do, turn men into HPMs, right? High performance men. And when we talk about high performance men, we're talking about this. We're talking about guys with pumping levels of test, massive levels of confidence, right? People who ooze charisma. Guys who have their digestion sorted, they're shredded, they're jacked, they look good, they're physically strong, right? This is what we create. And the most important thing too is we have an increase in the network because we coach so many high-level guys, a lot of guys who are crushing it. We've got guys who are making hundreds of thousands up to hundreds of millions of dollars per year. And every single person is within our network and we introduce everybody to each other. And whenever we do this, every single person gets better. Now, if this is something that you want to do, if you want to be a high performance man, if you want to be absolutely dominating your levels of test, your confidence, your charisma, your strength and your network, and allowing yourself to level up in terms of physicality, in terms of your wealth, in terms of your relationships, in terms of you as a man, reach out and let us know. Drop me a message, shoot me an inbox. You're more than welcome to book in a call with my team and I, and we'll see how we can help you absolutely crush life.
I hope you enjoyed the video. If you got something out of it and you want to learn more, click the link below or type in High Performance Conversations with James Cant, and you'll be able to check out all the podcasts that we've done. We cover a stack of different topics, everything from getting your mojo back, overcoming anxiety, self-doubt, self-esteem, and learning from some of the industries and some of the world's top performers in both business and in health. Look forward to having you on there.